should be. Oh. Hello, everybody. I am realizing that I think on the Instagram it is not presenting the way I'd hoped it would. So give me 1 second, but I'm so happy that you're here. I'm going to try to see if I can fix the view on Instagram so that you all can see the display a lot better. Let's see. I think I need to do dual mode. Oh boy. Okay, what are we? Okay, hello everyone, welcome. I'm so sorry. Technology is always so fun. I did this before, so I know that I can do it, but I'm like, great. Well, let's see. I think it'll correct itself once we get going. I'll keep an eye on the Instagram and see if you're having trouble with it. I'm gonna go ahead and link my YouTube channel in case this is giving us problems on Instagram. You should be able to watch this live on YouTube. I think it'll correct itself for anything that you need. So I'll go ahead and link that out, or you can just find me at Jenny from Nebraska on YouTube if you're having trouble viewing this. Perfect. Yay, I love that. Okay, I love to be problem solvers, not problem finders. Welcome, everyone. My name's Jenny, and I'm so excited to dig into you today on how to stop stalling and start writing. Okay, like that is the biggest thing that we're working on today. And if you haven't met me before, I would like to jump into a quick introduction. But before we do that, I just want to let you guys know I am going to have a Q&A at the end of this. You're going to be able to get your questions answered about anything writing related. And if you put those questions in the chat, I will answer them at the end. I may not be able to answer them in real time just because there's a lot going on, juggling different things, but hopefully I will be able to answer them at the end. So stay tuned. Great. Again, hello, I'm Jenny, and I am a filmmaker and screenwriter here in Chicago. And if you've ever felt like you're stuck staring at a blank page or you're unsure how to turn your ideas into a finished screenplay, you are in the right place. I just want to assure you that. Like, if that is what you are looking for, that is what we are going to cover today, right? And I have been in the Chicago industry since 2020, working mostly on indie film scenes here, but also on some larger productions such as the HBO's Hard Knocks. And along the way, I've trained with industry legends at like Shonda Rhimes, Brent Forrester, and Daniela Sioni, who I think is actually here with us today. Hi, Daniela. And I love learning how to tell stories and how to bring scripts to life. I've trained a lot, not only with these people, but at Second City and IO, and through years of experience in comedy and storytelling, I have developed a proven process to help writers like you go from a raw idea to something polished and production ready. And when I mean production ready, I mean production ready. I actually have 5 scripts in various stages of production here in Chicago. I'm also doing my best with the sound, but if you hear that, that is just our Chicago train. Just saying hello. I live right next to it, and sometimes it'll come by, but I hope that y'all can hear me. And if you can't hear me, please drop in the comments and let me know if that's a problem for you, okay? Awesome. Welcome. Oh, look, I can see the comments now. Yay. Oh, I have to sign into chat. Wow, guys, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. I can't chat back with you, but I'll verbally chat back with you. I don't want to get sidetracked. So, go ahead and drop in the chat for me if you have a script or story idea that you're working on. If something that you are like currently working on, you have the idea, you've been wanting to write it, but you just haven't done it yet. Drop a me in the chat. Great. When I talk to people about starting their script, there's a few different reasons that they haven't started their screenplay yet. And they usually fall into one of these categories. Either one, not knowing where to start, not being sure like even how to take that first step, or being overwhelmed by the idea of doing an entire script, right? It can be overwhelming, even if it's a pilot that's 30 pages. 30, 50, 120 pages can be a big project to take on and can feel overwhelming. But the number one reason that people tell me they can't finish their script is they don't have enough time. Do any of these resonate with you? Have you had that kind of experience, either feeling overwhelmed, like you didn't have enough time, or being unsure where to start? The fact is, when we try to find time to write, that's not going to happen. We say someday when I have the time, I'm going to sit down and do this thing, but someday is not a real day. And then even when you actually have the time, you often find yourself not doing the script, right? Like if you have a long weekend or a lazy Saturday, you're not actually writing. And the biggest reason for that is because there isn't a plan. So having a plan is a huge part of it. You don't actually need more time in your life. You just need the right plan. Throwing spaghetti at the wall and like hoping it's going to stick is not going to work when you're trying to craft a multi-layered story and several pages. And not having a clear plan will slow you down and frustrate you. So it's usually at this point that my clients say, well, that means one of two things. One, I have to write every single day, or I'm not a real writer, right? We jump to that, like, I have to do this every single day and set these huge expectations. Or the second one is, well, I don't even have time to plan, so I guess I'll never be a writer. It's usually one of these two things, and these barriers like jump up really quickly. But the truth is, you only need to commit 30 minutes a week to reach all of your writing goals. I promise you. You only need to commit 30 minutes a week. You're still going to be able to hit your goals. And I'm going to show you how. I'm going to show you exactly what that means. So get very excited. We're going to dive into that like step by step. But first, let's talk about the realities of creating a routine. It is currently January 12th. So how many people here have set some kind of New Year's resolution, right? New Year's resolutions are huge. Did you set one? Drop it in the chat. Let me know if that's something that you like to do. I personally stopped doing it, and for this reason. January 10th is National Quitters Day. What that means is most New Year's resolutions have been thrown out the window by January 10th, which is only the second Friday of the new year, right? So the second Friday, you had one good weekend. By the time that second weekend rolls around, it's very easy to just let it go. Much like this little man here, this little person they got all this momentum, they're going, but eventually it just stops before you hit your goal. Because you're working on nothing but sheer willpower, which is something that is so hard to do. So instead of forcing yourself to take this huge step, we can think about incremental changes. Like, what is the smallest 1% step you can take to reach your goal? Let's say, for example, if you have a goal to start writing 6 hours a week, maybe that is your long-term goal. That's something that seems like you want to do. And right now you're writing like 0 hours a week, or you're just writing really inconsistently. You don't have a consistent schedule. If I wanted to reach that goal of writing 6 hours a week, I would start so small. But a lot of people instead will say something like, well, I can write 6 hours a week if I write 1 hour a day and I take 1 day off a week, right? And you're like, I can write 6 hours, 1 hour a day. And that feels like a really like solid plan. That feels so doable. You'd convince yourself that was a good deal. After all, you're not writing every single day and you're getting a day off. It's so doable and honestly, so not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You might stick with it for like a week and into the second week, but by the end of the month, you're fighting for reasons to not write. Suddenly you're like, this seems like a lot, and I have all these other things I need to do. And you start pushing writing away, and you forget about that New Year's resolution until December 31st of next year. There is a much better and easier solution. And that is small, consistent steps that are going to lead to big results over time. So instead of saying you're going to write 6 hours a week immediately, you could instead start with something small and work up. In fact, when I say small, I mean like literally 1% changes. So if I wanted to kind of take this on, a 1% change for me wouldn't be jumping into an hour a day. Instead, it would be finding a day on the week, scheduling that time to write, going to my computer, simply opening up my computer. And that's it. That is the whole thing. Picking a day and going to my computer. If once I got there, I was, so inclined to write or I felt inspired, I absolutely would. I would sit down, I would write. But if I'm not feeling inspired, I'm not feeling like writing, that's okay. Because at that point, it's really about making a promise to yourself. Keeping that promise to yourself time and time again is going to lead to the results. So after I did that for a couple of weeks, then I would up it up just another 1%. So I would add, okay, we have the day scheduled. We go to our computer, and now I'm going to write for 15 minutes. And then I would just write for 15 minutes. That's it. And it seems easy, doable, and it might not feel like enough, but we're going to go into more about how it is way more than enough. It's going to lead to all your goals, right? Because you're keeping that promise to yourself. And I would keep doing the 15 minutes. If I felt like, hey, I'm really like rocking and rolling, I would keep writing until I wasn't feeling like writing anymore. But if I wasn't feeling it after 15 minutes, I would give myself permission to walk away. And I would keep building on that and adding 15-minute increments until finally I was writing for 3 days, 2 hours at each time, right? And hitting that 6-hour goal. So I would have hit that 6-hour goal and also have made progress on my script the entire journey there. That is such a big part of it. And I really want that to sink in, because in this way, you're not just hitting the goal of writing 6 hours a week, but you have a reward at the end of hitting that goal. You have an accomplished script. You have something already tangible in place once you hit that larger goal of 6 hours. If you try to do it the other way, which is what most people do, if you try to say, well, I'm going to write 6 hours and see what happens, you're going to have a few scenes written, but the reward is not, it's going to be too small for the effort that it took and the willpower it took to write 6 hours that week from zero. The reward's going to feel really small and insignificant. But if you do it the other way, the reward feels huge, and it's what's going to keep you going and finally get you to the end of your script. And you don't have to do it with pure willpower. Amazing. I need to just take a second for that, because 1% changes, I'm huge on it. But how exactly do we move those 1% changes into something like doable? Like, how do you actually take a 1% change and put it into your life? So that's where the meat of this is coming in. So I hope you guys are excited, because we're going to look at these 3 pillars to actually finish your script. First, we're going to go over planning with a purpose, how to set up a plan that's doable, that you can incorporate into your life, building habits that stick, right? So we want these habits to actually be around for a long time and not just grow from nothing. And then how you can use accountability to amplify your momentum and keep everything moving forward. I see a lot of new people coming in, so welcome everyone. If you're having trouble viewing this, I'm doing my best on Instagram, but you can go to YouTube, which I dropped the YouTube link, or follow me on Jenny from Nebraska if you want to see like the full vertical there, if it's not working on your Instagram, just to let you know. And if you have any questions, please keep putting them in the comments. I'm going to address all your questions later if something comes up. I can't do it live, but I will do it like at the end of the presentation while you're all still here, okay? And if you also stick around, I have a special bonus for anybody who stays till the end. That it is going to be, we uncover what the number one reason why most writers fail to finish their script. We're going to uncover that and how to fix it. If you have any guesses for that, please put it in the comment. I'm curious to see what it is everyone else thinks is the number one reason, and then I will reveal it for you. So let's move into my very first feature script. Please Don't read this page too hard. Like, for real, you can read it, look at it, it exists, but it's not, I'm not like saying it's great writing, but it is the very first page of my feature. Uh, Back in 2020, as we all lived through that time, I was finding myself in a very insular world. So at the time, I was living in Chicago studying sketch, and I was writing for sketch groups and putting on shows. But when everything shut down, life got really insular, and I had to figure out a way to keep writing. And I decided that I was going to try my hand at screenplays, at feature plays. Now, taking on a feature can feel extremely overwhelming, right? But the only other thing I had going on in my life at the time was a soul crushing job that I did basically from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. trying to put out all these fires. And I really needed to find a way of escaping, and I found it in writing. I took the classes, I read books, I listened to podcasts, and I was trying to break down the structure of a script. Because prior to that, I was writing sketches, which were like 5 pages. And the idea of writing something that's like 100, 120 pages felt extremely daunting. And I really, really wanted to start this project, but I was also scared of starting because I was scared of doing it wrong. I was scared of it being bad. I was scared of not finishing, and I didn't really know if I could actually start this. So what I had to do is, instead of looking at this whole big project, I wanted to take it and break it down and look at it scene by scene, beat by beat. And I worked on it just like a little bit every single day until 3 months later, I had 109 pages in my hand. I had wrote the script, and I knew if I did it once, I could do it again, and I could do it again and again. But I had to break it down into small pieces and have the courage to stick with it and just start. So when you think about planning, I love this idea of ins and outs that we've been doing this year. If you've seen it, like I said, not a fan of New Year's resolutions, but I am a fan of this ins and outs. So I want to break down how to actually create a doable plan that is going to work with you to reach your goals. The first thing we want to do is not just be, like I said, throwing spaghetti against a wall. You want to start with a game plan. You can't just sit down and hope inspiration strikes and that you're going to get it. And by doing that, you need to break your things into small steps, right? So you have an entire script, and you're going to break it down into different scenes, into different beats, and really have a plan for how you're going to get that larger script made. We also need to set realistic and flexible deadlines. It can be so exciting to be like, I am going to write this script and I'm going to do it in 1 month, or I'm going to do it so fast, or I saw somebody else do this in 2 months, therefore I know I can. And if you're setting impossible deadlines that you absolutely can't hit because your life doesn't work with it, that's not helping you and it's not serving you. Instead, we want to set realistic, flexible deadlines that move with us. So if something comes up, we can be flexible and move our writing time to sometime somewhere else, right? We're not just like throwing it out the window, but we're being flexible and moving it and making yourself a priority. Another big one is perfection. One of the reasons I was so scared to start is because I was afraid to do it wrong. Or I had a flashback in my script and I was like, how do you do a flashback? What does that formatting look like? And I had to learn how to do it before I could write it out. And like, it's okay to just make progress and to make mistakes, and you're going to be a better writer. If I could be frank, and this is something I tell my clients if they're just starting out, your first script, it's probably not going to be great. Some first scripts, they really suck, and that's normal, and that's completely fine. My first script was a horrendous mess, but it exists. And because you write a bad script, you learn from it, and you learn how to write better. Right? Each time you're doing it, you're developing a little bit better, but you can't develop if you don't allow yourself to take that first step. So I want to focus on progress over perfection. It's really, really important, right? More is lost with inaction than the wrong action. So we want to make sure we're taking action. And to really do that, we're going to go to those 1% changes we talked about. 1% can feel like a really easy step. And when things feel easy, they feel like they're not enough. So we want to let go of the belief that small progress isn't enough. It's actually been snowing here in Chicago the last couple of days, and it really made me think about this. So, when you think about a snowstorm, every single flake can be a 1%. And just one of them falling down really doesn't do much. But as they keep falling down out of the sky, suddenly they take over everything, they cover everything, because small change is enough, and that is enough progress. But how do you do 1% changes? What does that even really look like? We touched on it a little bit, right? That can be 30 minutes a week. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into what this looks like, what you're when you're building strong habits from the ground up, and how to look to the future to see how these 1% changes can be enough. So let's say that you have a goal of writing 30 minutes a week every Friday, and you're going to do that for the next 3 weeks because it's January. So all of January, you're going to write 30 minutes per week. Then in February, you're going to bump that up another 30 minutes. And so you're going to write 1 hour per week. How many people here feel like you could actually carve out 30 minutes a week right now? Like, how doable does that feel? It should feel pretty easy and doable just to have that extra 30 minutes, right? If you're thinking of like not watching a Netflix show one night, boom. Or if you normally cook food and instead you do takeout one night, you can get that 30 minutes back. And that's a really easy goal to hit. And if you keep adding those 30 minutes, so now you have an hour in February, you keep adding it, by June, you would be writing 3 hours consistently every single week. And it's an easy, doable goal. Does anybody have any guess how many cumulative hours you would have written if you start writing 30 hours this week and follow this program? It's like a little bit of a math question for you. 42. You would have written 42 hours if you start writing just 30 minutes a week now. That's enough time to finish a pilot script. That's enough time to finish like the first 2 acts of a feature, depending on your writing speed. And it's enough to feel like you made significant progress. Now, what would happen if you keep doing that and you keep writing for the rest of the year, adding 30-minute increments every single month? You would have written 156 hours cumulatively. Not just that, like not just the fact that you wrote 156 hours, but let's break it down. You wrote 156 hours, you hit your writing goal of writing 6 hours every single week, and this amount of time is enough time to write like 2 features. You can write 2 features, a pilot, whatever it is that you are trying to do, you can do it in this amount of time. And you did it without sacrificing your weekends, without sheer willpower and just trying to force yourself into it. Instead, you did it very, very small. And now you have a writing plan that is integrated into your life because you made yourself a priority and you created these habits. I love that. I love that idea. I have seen this exact method work time and time again in my own life, especially when I'm building out, like I've been making more content recently, right? You can apply this to so many areas of your life and really skyrocket what you're doing and let it bloom without it feeling overwhelming, without it feeling like you have to do something or you should do something. It can feel good and it can feel like you can accomplish it. One way, and a really great way to amplify your momentum, is through accountability. I've actually been a co-moderator for Script Night, which is a feedback group here in Chicago, for over about 3 years now. And I know that accountability groups are huge. Not only getting feedback on your script, but being around people who give feedback is it's life-changing, really, 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 because you get to hear people either agree, like let's say you have a piece of advice and other people agree with it. That's going to make you feel more confident in your own writing and your own ability to break down a script. People will disagree and you get to see the other side of the coin, and like maybe they'll bring up some really good points you didn't think about and maybe even sway your opinion, or you can double down on your opinion and be like, listen, no, I feel really good about my opinion. Or someone's going to bring up ideas that you had never heard of. Because it's a group setting and a community, like you will have more insight into these scripts. Plus you're going to be reading scripts. So accountability is huge, It's also hard sometimes to see our own progress. So when you could to check in with peers and you update them, you can see more of your progress as you go through. And writing is easier and more fun when you have a group that you can keep you accountable and celebrate your wins. I will say that like giving and getting feedback on scripts has boosted my confidence faster than any film festival award ever did. And it really, really helps to have a group of like minded people to support you and push you forward when it gets hard. However, we are creative souls, right? And we don't always like to be tethered to a schedule. So it can be challenging to find a group that is consistent, meets regularly. They are rare, but they are out there. So if you're looking for groups, I suggest like looking into local networking events online, or I have some more options that we'll touch on in a little bit. But before we go into that, as promised, after we've done our 3 pillars, well, let's take a little shake and we're going to dive into why do most writers fail to finish? Who has a guess for why do most writers fail to finish their script? Go ahead and drop it in the chat if you think that you know the answer. So, this is why most scripts go unfinished. Without guidance or feedback, it's really easy to start second guessing your own work. You lose momentum, and then uncertainty about what to do next often leaves scripts unfinished and ideas abandoned. So, really, the key to finishing your script is having the right support system. And you need a clear plan with constructive feedback so you can stay motivated. It's about replacing that uncertainty with confidence. So if you hit a roadblock in your story, or if you finish an act or have someone, do you have anybody that you can reach out to that will help you give feedback on that? Or does it get lost in your own brain and kind of like start to spiral down until you just give up altogether? It really wasn't until I started sharing my work with my peers that my writing really started to skyrocket. And I'm not just sharing like the polished drafts, right? Like not just the finished work, but also the log lines, the ideas, the brainstorming. This is a really great process because writing can often feel so lonely, but it doesn't have to be. Like if you can find a good group of people, writing can feel fun and like a community event. With that, I'm so excited to announce and you guys are the first people ever to hear about this, but I am starting a new program called Make a Scene, which is a roadmap to your best script. So I created Make a Scene with one goal in mind: to help writers dig into the heart of their story and create doable plans to go from the first draft to the final draft with ease. And we're focused on building a strong community that supports, pushes, and inspires writers to finish without feeling overwhelmed and without burnout. It's an 8-week program that takes you from a raw idea to a polished draft with personalized coaching, structured lessons, and actionable feedback. So you're going to be able to master your storytelling and write with confidence. I'm so excited about this. I'm really, really genuinely excited. And you can see kind of an overview here of what to expect. In week 1, we're going to start out with finding the heart of your story, really digging into what makes the story yours. Week 3, we're going to master structure, that formatting. What does a script look like? What is the industry standard and what options do you have? And then week 7, we're going to create your path to a final draft. So you are going to have your own unique goals for your script, whether that's production, pitching, or festivals, whatever that run looks like. We're going to create a final path for you to follow to finish your draft and hit your goals. I was very adamant that I did not want this to be another watch it and figure it out course. While I do love those courses and I've taken them myself, people that I've spoken with in my life say that they really are looking for somebody who wants to do that one-on-one development with them. So I put in checkpoints throughout the course to make sure that you are going to have one-on-one checkpoints with me to really dive into the heart of your story. So here's an example. Week 1, we're going to kick off a single one-on-one session. What are your goals? What's your story? What are you trying to do? Weeks 4 and 6 will be development feedback. So checking in on the outline and checking in on how are those scenes coming? Like, what are you doing? And then finally, week 8, that next step strategy, right? So How are you going to progress forward now that you have the tools to ensure that you finish your script and take it where you want to go? And there will also be ongoing weekly Q&A live coaching. Some of the topics that we're going to cover in those live coachings include sessions like the personalized feedback that we were talking, where you have your supportive community, but also exploring and highlighting your story. Like, what makes it yours? We want to ensure that it's authentic, compelling, and marketable. That is very important, because if you're trying to tell a story to send it out into the world, we need to make sure the world is ready to receive it. You're going to get the clarity and confidence to do that. And you're going to be able to fast track your script by learning industry standard structures and formatting storytelling while building that realistic plan that fits your life, right? Because it doesn't matter what you learn if you can't take action and actually put it into practice. So, why sign up? Well, first of all, there are genuinely limited spots available. I am only one looking for. You also need to start now. If you're trying to have a script ready for the festival run in the summer, you need to start now, not when the door is open, not when deadlines are approaching, because you want to be prepared and have the best possible script at the time when you submit it. And that means starting earlier. Once these doors close, which will be in a couple of weeks, I won't run this again until summer. And you're going to save time and energy trying to figure this out on your own. I have already taken so many courses, read so many books, listened to all these podcasts, and I'm condensing all of this information and putting it into worksheets, guides, and coaching available exclusively to Make a Scene members. And so if you want to have access to that, definitely come. I'd love to have you join us. And if that isn't even enough, I have created a very exclusive launch resource that people have been asking me for, because like I said, I have 5 scripts of my own in production here in Chicago right now. And people are always asking me, how did you do that? Like, what are your steps? How are you getting these scripts out there? And so I created this Be Your Own Greenlight. It's a resource to show you 3 different ways that you can greenlight your scripts, right? What steps can you take, even if you've never made a short before, even if you've never had your script produced before, you can take these steps and ensure that your script gets greenlit. Who's excited? Who's excited for any of that? Like, which of these do you think is the one thing you're most excited about? Finishing, getting the bonuses, or just knowing that you're going to have the community and the resources you need to actually finish your script? You might be also wondering, if this all sounds amazing, how do I join? Well, I'm so glad you asked. So you can head over here to bit.ly/join make a scene. Ensure that you are actually following those capitalizations to a T. And I'm going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat as well. So you guys should be able to join straight from the chat, although we all know that it's not the easiest thing for Instagram. Let's see, let me get that in there real quick so you can start exploring, because there will be more information on the website as well. Okay, let's see. Awesome. Okay, so that should be dropping in. And as that's working through, just want to highlight some of the things that will be in this course. So like I said, it's an 8-week course. We're going to give insights on screenplay formatting and structure, exercises to uncover your story's emotional core, themes, and unique voice, those live weekly coaching sessions we talked about, personalized feedback tailored towards you, access to a private community, and guidance on next steps for festivals, production, pitching, whatever it is you're trying to do with your script, plus downloadable worksheets, guides, condensing all of that information into something that's easy to follow. And in addition, that Be Your Own Greenlight bonus that we talked about, that is only exclusively available to launch members. Now, I spoke with several people about how much a course like this would mean to them. And the price point would be $14.97. Now, since we're just launching this, and this is going to be the first iteration and cohort, I wanted to make sure that anybody who's ready to jump on got a discount and was able to join and remove any of those barriers. So it is one payment of $9.97, or there is a payment plan of $342. So you can do three payments or a single payment. It's totally up to you. Either way, you'll have access to all of this information. I want to close out with the idea of looking forward, right? So you can't look back at how far you've come until you've taken a step forward. And you can't finish your script until you've written your first word. So if you're having any barriers or you're having any issues with starting your script, this community and this course will help you take those first steps and really skyrocket your screenwriting career, or help you finally finish that script that's been on your mind and been living rent-free in your head. Because I think that we should take the ideas out of the graveyard of our notes app and actually write the scripts. So moving into that, thank you everybody who stayed here this long and listened, and I really hope that you had fun learning how to stop stalling and start writing and really move into a more doable writing plan that will help you finish your script. And if that's all you take away from this, amazing. So good. If you have any questions, now would be the time. I'm definitely going to answer any Q&As, whether it's about this, how to create a doable writing plan, or if it's about make a scene. Go ahead and drop them in the comments and I will get to all of them. How to create a Okay. I did have some people submit in before, so we will start with those while you all think of any questions that you might have. So, how do you stay consistent while uninspired? Is the question. And that is such a great question. I think inspiration comes and goes, right? And we often see inspiration as, do I know the words I'm going to write down? Do I know what my characters are going to do next? And we see that as inspiration. But looking back at the 1% changes that we had outlined before, inspiration can come from keeping that commitment and that promise to yourself. So consistency can come from that as well. Just showing up every single day and actually trying to hit that goal that you set, whether it was 15 minutes, an hour, whatever it could be, as long as you keep showing up, that's where consistency and inspiration will strike. I also like to follow the phrase, can I just? So on days that it's feeling like really hard, it's feeling so hard, I can't write for an hour, I have no ideas in my head. On those days, instead of saying, I have to go and write, I say, can I just? And I break it again down into small pieces. Can I just go to my desk? Can I just open up the document? Can I just think about what might be a good idea? And eventually working through those steps, I find myself getting into some kind of rhythm to accomplish something, whether it's an hour of actual dedicated writing or moving through it and just doing as much as I can and knowing that that was enough. Like that will really help you with that consistency and staying motivated, even if you're not feeling inspired to write. How to overcome perfectionism. Oh, yes. I know we talked about this a little bit, but it's such a big one. I think it's important to realize that no matter how good your first draft is, no matter how perfect and amazing and thought out and just like you took all the time in the world to write that very first perfect first draft, you're still going to need to do rewrites. You're always going to need to do rewrites because the clarity comes from the rewrites. A lot of the gems come from those rewrites. So giving yourself permission to not have a perfect first draft, to vomit draft something out, is so huge. And when we start focusing on progress over perfection, you're able to even make better first drafts because you're able to just get more of them out and do more writing and develop a better muscle, and letting go of that perfectionism, because it's not going to happen. Nobody ever wrote a first draft that went straight to production. That just doesn't happen. And I'm giving you permission to release yourself of that expectation. Does formatting actually matter? Or is the adage of just good enough true? Yes and no with formatting. The formatting of a script should be clear because at the end of the day, your script is a tool for the production company to actually make this story come to life. And if it's not clear and people aren't literally on the same page, it's going to make production very, very hard. It's also going to make it very hard for them to fully understand what it is you're trying to say if your formatting is not clear. There are industry standards that are great to follow, especially as you're just starting out. The reason that they're so good to follow is because it's one less thing for you to think about if you're just following this industry standard format. Like, how does my interior exterior line look like if you're following this format, it allows you to tell the story and grow and develop that muscle. Once you follow the format over and over again, then you can start breaking it and you can start making really interesting formats. I just read The Substance, which is a great read if you're looking for a script that has different kind of formatting. I thought it was incredible. And I've actually been trying to implement similar techniques into my writing. But I use these techniques as a tool to enhance the story and to tell the story in a way that I feel my readers kind of get pulled in and visually see what's happening through a text medium. And so it's very intentional and clear when that's happening. If you try to start breaking rules too soon, it can come off as an amateurish read and it can be hard for people to understand what's going on. So I do suggest following industry format until you learn how to break the rules in a way that's clear and concise. But also, like, if your script is good, people will read it, right? So don't worry too much about, so do my headings need to be bold or not bold? Or do I need to like worry about XYZ? Like, if your script is good, people are gonna read it. Right. Interesting. I feel like I might have, hopefully my live is still going on some of these because I feel like it's not on the Instagram. Let me check my Instagram real quick. I think that the screen froze, but hopefully it's still going. Oh shoot! I don't know if you guys wrote anything in Instagram. I'm not seeing it, unfortunately. But I'm happy to answer any questions that people have. Even if you send me a DM or you leave a comment, let me know. A couple of things is doors are going to close for this on the 26th. And there are limited spots available. So once that's filled up, they're filled up. Once those doors are closed, they're closed. And then we're going to start moving into that 8-week program, meeting on a consistent schedule and inviting everybody into that private community. Do I need to have prior experience to write a script? No. You don't need to have prior experience, not as a writer, not as a screenwriter. If you want to join in, I'm going to teach you the very basics of formatting. This is meant for newer writers or emerging screenwriters who maybe have a couple scripts under their belt or are coming from zero. Like, this is going to be a great course for you. But here's the thing, like, if you want your script to truly shine, whether it's going to be for productions, for competitions, or even just your own personal fulfillment, like, you do need to have the right tools and guidance. And that is what this program is going to help you do. Right. And again, guys, you can go to the website there, bit.ly/join make a scene. Make sure that the capitalizations are all the same. And I'm also going to send a follow-up email to anybody who's watching this live and to all of the subscribers who weren't able to come. So you're going to be able to watch this replay, and I don't have the link in there as well. Great. Fantastic. Well, again, thank you everyone who came out. This was my first webinar to this caliber, and it's been so exciting to build it. And I was very excited to share with you how to create doable writing plans that fit your life. And if you have any further questions about that or about Make a Scene and joining the program, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I cannot wait to see what stories you all create because your story matters. So let's write it together. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.